Damn, it's a rich thing.
Go ahead.
All right. What's up, everybody? It is PJ and Jessica.
Hello.
And we are back at it again. What we're doing is we're going through the going through the stages of our relationship and basically how we started, and just kind of like putting it all out there. About 2 weeks ago, we shared kind of the very, very first chapter in our relationship when we first met, had our summer fling, when I was going into high school and Jessica was already a freshman in high school. And then this is kind of like the time period of when we had broken up after that, and just to kind of like lay the ground. So when I went into high school, Jessica and I both, had separate, she had a boyfriend, I had a girlfriends. I don't mean to say it like plural, but yeah. So we dated other people for about 2.5 years, and then we ended up getting reconnected. The funny thing is that a lot of Jessica's friends were also my friends. Like, I just started hanging around, her crowd, started hanging around the people that she went to high school with, and became really, really good friends with the people that she knew. And during this time period, like, I probably would say I was at a low spot. Like, I was dating somebody from her school. I was drinking a lot, doing drugs, was just a total slime ball, total sleaze bag, just oily, just gross.
Yeah, he looked crusty.
And I remember I started dating this girl, and I'll never forget one of the very first times that I saw Jessica again was at a basketball game, and I was with my girlfriend at the time and my nephew, and I ended up seeing her sitting down a couple of rows beneath me, and I was like throwing popcorn at her, trying to get her attention, like playing with her, and she allowed it too. Like, she won't deny it that I thought you thought it was cute.
I thought it was funny, but when I saw who it was and I realized it was PJ and how he looked, it was it wasn't the PJ that I knew from 2.5 years ago. He looked completely different. It really shocked me to see like the change that he went through, just because of all of the drinking and the drugs, and he didn't really care about his physical appearance at all. So it was very different for me to see him like that.
Yeah, I agree. Like, I had dreadlocks.
It was funny.
I had like weird dreadlocks.
Yeah, you had like a dingy white
tank top.
Like a wife beater on, and like these really baggy, like, I don't know if they were like washed out gray jeans.
Yeah, probably.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was kind of nasty. So needless to say, like, we saw each other, we were cordial with each other.
Mm-hmm.
But we were young. Like, there was never the, oh my gosh, like, I'm gonna go and try to holler at that girl again, or I'm gonna holler at that boy. It wasn't until my junior year of high school and her senior year where,
Mm-hmm.
So this was me coming to a party, was already kind of faded, was drunk a little bit and all that good stuff. Well, I wouldn't say good stuff, but this was like in a really like weird space that we were in. We were in high school.
We were both in weird positions at this time.
So this is, as I'm talking about this, it's coming from the person that I was at that time,
Mm-hmm.
and now reflecting back on it. And I remember pulling up and I see Jessica. I see her on top of the roof of the house, and we make eye contact.
Mm-hmm.
And she not literally jumps off the roof, but scales down the roof, runs up to me, and we hug each other.
Mm-hmm.
And we're
at this point, he looked way better. He had short hair. He had like this cream shirt on with, I think they were like boom boxes, like 6 boom boxes on his shirt, I believe. And he had a brown belt on with like these blue jeans, and he looked just more put together.
So what had happened was, is I went through I went through a year of working out, all this different stuff, getting ready for the football season, and so I was in football season. So just my demeanor and everything changed. It shifted. Um, so we hug each other, and it's kind of funny because we both were single. Like we both weren't in relationships, and we kind of just saw each other. So we proceeded to go inside. And at this time, I don't know what's going on around the house or anything, but I just remember us standing at the counter, and I look over to Jessica with my eye closed like this, and I'm like, hey, you want a shot? You want to take a shot with me? And she's like, sure. And so I like start pouring the grape Smirnoff and like looking at her like I'm actually doing something
It
cool.
was 3 olives.
3 olives and like,
And it was bubblegum.
oh, whatever it was. Yeah, so I don't even remember, but I was like literally pouring it all over the table because I obviously wasn't paying attention. But I do remember that in that night, tons of crazy stuff happened. But the one thing that I'll never forget is Jessica and I, at one point in the night, we were standing outside underneath the stars, and I don't know who said it first or whatever, but I just remember somebody saying, or it probably was me, where I was like, I miss you. Was it me? Mm-hmm. So I told her, I said, I miss you. Mind you,
he's under the influence.
I'm drunk, whatever. But so she gives me her number, and that was kind of that was it. That was it that night. That literally, that was it. And then it was probably about two weeks until we reconnected. I texted her and I asked her if I could come over and come see her. And then that's exactly what I did. I went over to her house. Her parents
after football practice.
Yeah, her parents didn't know. Her brother didn't know that I was coming over, and surprised the entire family. And then we just continuously started hanging out. Pretty much every other day or every day. And she would come over, I'd go over. We'd go to parties together. And then
he'd pick me up from school. He would bring me lunch.
Yeah, I'd start doing all of those things. And at that time,
he was the romantic.
Yeah. At that time, it was fun. I mean,
it was fun. It was like the honeymoon stage in a relationship.
I would also say that I kind of liked the attention too, because she was like, the baddest girl at her school. So, rolling up and just like being able to walk through the halls.
When he means baddest, that doesn't mean like...
No, like she just had it all put together. Like she had a lot of things going for her. Everybody knew her. She was well-rounded, very smart, very beautiful. And I knew a lot of guys personally that wanted her, and I was like, man, that's mine right there, boy.
Luckily, he got his shit together, so...
Yeah. But we'll do this. We'll navigate into one of our very first dates where we went to AMC 30. And this was after we were talking for a while.
November 14th.
And we're going to see this movie called The Blind Side. We're sitting in the upper left-hand corner of the movie theater. I'm sitting on the right. She's sitting on the left. And I remember
my legs were over your legs.
Yeah, I was like, I'm going to pull the plug. In my head, I'm thinking to myself, I'm going to pull the plug. So I looked over to her, and mind you, typically men ask, they're like, would you be my girlfriend? Would you like us to date? I leaned over to Jessica. Well, I'll say that she's over here, but, right here. I leaned over to Jessica, and I said, I just want to let you know that I'm telling, I'm kind of sharing with everybody that you're my girlfriend. So are you okay with that?
So you asked.
And she was like,
really? What?
Sure.
Yes.
And I was like, all right, cool. Because I told my mom and dad you were my girlfriend, so. And I remember, we didn't even kiss after that. We just, awkwardly kind of, sat there,
The movie was starting.
Okay. So we came in as dating, without a title and left the movie being boyfriend and girlfriend. And yeah, it's kind of weird talking about these sequence of events, because you think about like how much God has either been very involved, in the day to day, or has been like, what, you have, you make these choices, you still got to make your bed. And it's cool to see how much he's blessed both of us within, just aligning us being able to see and match up at certain events and times in our lives. And as we went through high school,
some other things happened.
We dated for 6 months. Then we broke up, or I broke up with her because I wanted to do my own thing. I wanted to mess around. I wanted to go do all of this stuff. And so we basically were on and off throughout all of high school, and was on a roller coaster ride of emotions. But going into my senior year and her going into her sophomore year of college, her freshman year of college.
Well, we missed a lot. We skipped over a lot. So him asking me to be his girlfriend November of 2009. That was it. 2009 in December. It was great. Our relationship was really awesome. We were spending so much time together, especially since we were both driving. But something hit the roof. I was busy with basketball. He was busy with... Were you in football at the time?
In December?
Yeah.
No.
So I was busy with basketball. So he was always showing up to my games, home or away. He was always there. But this one game, he did not show up. This one game. And sure enough, I went up for a layup, and I came down, and I thought my whole abdomen area was going to just explode. It was literally the first quarter, maybe the first 5 minutes of the game. And I go running to the sideline, and I'm like, Coach, you got to call a timeout. You got to pull me out. I fell to the floor, and I was in so much pain. And at first I thought it was just like menstrual cramps. I thought like, it was my time for my cycle. But no, this was pain I've never felt before. My parents come rushing over to me, and I'm like, I can't get up, I can't stand. But I got the I guess like the courage, the strength to get up. And sure enough, I ran to the bathroom and I fell to the floor again. And my mom comes running in behind me. I'm screaming and I'm like in tears. I couldn't really function. And I was like, Mom, there's something wrong. This is not working. Like, I don't know what's going on. My mom tries to give me ibuprofen. And I'm just in so much pain. My parents have to rush me to Scottsdale Hospital, and come to find out, they are pumping me with morphine and nothing is working. They give me Dilaudid, and I'm finally feeling some type of pain relief. So at that time, they are finally ordering me a CAT scan or an ultrasound. And before the pain subsided, my dad was freaking out. He was in the hallways in the ER, walking up and down of like, somebody do something. I was in tears, I'm screaming, and no nurses or doctors were coming to my aid. And my dad just flipped a switch and he went off on everybody. So I have nurses coming in, they finally gave me pain meds, and I'm going and getting an ultrasound. And at that time, I find out that I have a tumor on my left ovary. And they come back and tell me the results, and they're like, okay, we have to do an emergency surgery. And I go in for surgery, I prep, and I just remember getting this clipboard of a waiver, because I'm 18 at the time, and I'm basically signing my life on this piece of paper. And I just look over to my mom, and she turns green, like green, like algae green, because if something was to happen, she can't do anything. And of course, her baby going into surgery, it happened. So I remember them coming in and giving me an IV and that's all I remember. My mom says that I was awake, but all I remember physically is signing my name and them coming and giving me an IV. I don't remember anything after that. But my mom said I was awake for maybe 30 minutes before they wheeled me to the back. And she said I was awake then, but so unaware of it. So that happened in December 2009, and literally after that, it was Christmas and New Year's.
Well, hold on. Don't go too far ahead, because what Jessica didn't say was while she was in the hospital, there were two major things that happened while she was in the hospital.
I missed this detail.
So I go up to her room, and
I was in recovery.
She's kind of like in and out of it. And I go to her bedside, looking at her, and she's looking at me, and I give her a hug, and she asks her parents to, like, I don't know, leave the room or something like that, where it's just me and her in the room, right? And I'm
coming out of the anesthesia.
She looks up at me and she says, the first time she was like, I love you. I really, really love you. Did I say I love you back?
Mm-hmm.
And I said, I love you too.
Yep. Took us 2 weeks. 3 weeks.
3 weeks. So that was pretty solid. But what was even crazier was that same day I'm walking out and I'm standing outside in the hallway with her brother Jeep. And so Jeep is standing there, looking at me, looking at the door that she's in, looking back at me, looking at the door. It says, Peter, let me talk to you real quick. I said, okay. He said, you like my sister? I said, hey, Jeep, yeah, I do. He's like, do you love her? And I was like, Jeep, I got a lot of love for her. I got a lot of love for your sister. And then he looks at me and he says, if you wanted to marry my sister, I would definitely give you permission. I totally would let you.
And mind you, we're 17 and 18
So he's like, if you want to marry her, you can marry her. And I was like, all right, Jeep, well, appreciate that. I'm like, I ain't really thinking about that, right now at being 17 years old. Right. Internally.
But my brother, he has a disability, so he doesn't really understand the concept of all of that. He knows love is like love. He understands big emotions. So he said that, and that kind of freaked me out a little bit, because I never would have thought at 17 years old that I'd be having those types of conversations. But we went through our stuff, in high school, especially that junior year, on and off. I was playing with her and was like, I don't want to be in a relationship. Yes, I do. No, I don't. I ended up, hurting myself as well, snapping my hamstring, and had to recover from that going into the new season. And I would think that one of the biggest things that happened was we started to just go to church. And Jessica didn't really go to church. I was kind of on and off, but then that kind of became our Sunday ritual of just going to church together with my brother, his girlfriend at the time, my mom, and just doing that. And then we kind of found ourselves solid again in our relationship, because it became more than just sex. It became more than just physical. It started to develop into something a little bit more. But just as fast as it was developing into something that could be more, I was also not wanting to let go of my old self, and at the tender age of 18 step into being a man and being with one woman. And so that weighed on me. And I knew I was going off to college. I knew that there was going to be so many things to entice me, and I was like, do I really want to carry a relationship going into college? And we held on for as long as we could. Literally.
And then I left, and probably a month later,
September, 2012?
It was probably right around when we first became boyfriend and girlfriend, where I called her and I said, you know, I just don't think this is gonna work. And it wasn't because of the distance. It was because there were other things around me that were distracting me from the relationship that Jessica and I had. And so the same person that was that 17-year-old junior in high school that was having her on a roller coaster ride, that person started to cultivate again in college in the same way. And I think that's a good place where we'll leave it as far as going through our... And there's other points in high school that we'll get to, or that I'll speak on, like as far as the addictions and drugs and, you know, those kind of deeper things. But this is a good place for us to stop, because this next phase is where it really starts to get nitty gritty. It really starts to get into the weeds of why we are the way we are, why we're in a relationship, and really about responsibilities and looking at the other person as, if I had a choice, would I choose to walk away, or would I choose to make it work? Plain and simple.
Yeah.
Got anything else?
Nope. Just find the little details that we'll add in before we make the third part of our story.
All right, so we're at halftime. So
Until
we're gonna
next
take a break,
time.
and then we will connect with you soon. Peace.